Welcome to Magical Meetups. I'm Candace.
And I'm Nicole. This podcast is about growing and learning through discovery of all things metaphysical and supernatural.
Okay, so today we will now be discussing etiquette.
Metaphysical etiquette. I'm so excited about this.
How you should act.
Yes, and I feel like everyone should already know this, not just metaphysical.
Yeah, some of them are like socially,
like
regular social engagements. You shouldn't do these things.
Don't be a jerk.
If you break it, you buy it.
Right. If you drop the $50 crystal, it's yours.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay for it. Which brings us to our first one. If you break it, you buy it. So, if you go into your shop, you have signs.
Right.
And why did you decide to put up signs specifically when we all know people should know these things?
Because I'm really nice and I don't like to be a jerk to people, because sometimes, mostly, how do you say this without being a jerk? Okay, so sometimes people will bring kids in that aren't necessarily paying attention to the kids, or, crystals are pretty, so they're going to want to touch them. And I love the fact that kids come in, because they should. Like, I want them to learn about it, and I never have had an issue. Even if they want to come to, like, classes, things like that, I think it's cool. As long as they're being good.
Yes. And I feel like this is kind of like in Walmart situation, like everywhere. Like, I know I got some badass kids. So before I walk in, everybody, we are not touching anything.
Right.
And if you do touch things, you will be in trouble, and you will either have to hold my hand or go sit outside. Depending on, obviously, how old your child is.
I remember taking my kids out of Walmart or wherever. If they were being jerks or little assholes, let's go.
Exactly.
We don't need to be here.
Well, and sometimes you have to do that, and it sucks for you as a parent to have to do that. Right. But, that's sometimes what you have to do. One, to save your wallet, and two, so your kid isn't, thinking that that's okay in general. Right. And so I love seeing kids in the store because I work for Candace. So I'm there, and I even say, sometimes they have a price range, they got $5, and I'll be like, oh, well, there's these mushrooms, and I'll pick up the mushrooms and kind of hold them down for them to see, or the stars and the moons, because they're cheaper, so they can have
more
their price change.
More
kid friendly, more. Not as if you're going to break it, you're going to break your wallet kind of situation. Right. They're kind of tiny for their little hands. Right. Because sometimes their hands aren't big enough to hold.
I remember the first couple months of us opening, Scott wanted to put everything high.
Yeah.
Because of that reason. Because we want kids to come in, but it's just not feasible in a crystal shop. You can't just put every expensive thing up high. You just can't do it.
And sometimes, I've had where kids have bought, expensive things. They have had, their grandma or whatever brings them in and been like, okay, you can pick, you got $50, and they pick, a $30 crystal.
But you know what's sad is, yes, when, say, a bad kid, or I'm not even going to say bad kid, when a child is in there maybe running around and their parents not paying attention.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily blame the child all the time.
Yeah.
But I have had 2 adults break something.
Yeah, adults.
I think it's just us that we're like, oh my God, he or she's gonna not get into that table, but adults really are the ones that drop stuff.
Adults, I've had grown people be picking up too many things at once and dropping or not
balance
or knocking it over when they're trying to get that one specific 145 in the back, and they knock over the 5 in front, and you're like, oh. So it's not just kids. We're not just ragging on kids. But the etiquette is mainly for, hey, if you have your kid, watch them.
Right.
If they're running around, hey, we have a place to sit. So, if I, they can sit right there, and So they're not, so they're not touching every single thing. Because my kids are like that. You know, they want to hold everything.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you got money, you can't be holding nothing. Is what I tell them. Because if you can't afford it, I can't afford it. So make sure that you're like watching your kids. It's hard to watch them in a crystal store because you're trying to look at everything. So sometimes like bring a partner or,
right.
you know, take turns or maybe hold them or hold their hand, kind of work out ways, and don't let your toddlers run everywhere or your kids, like in general. But sometimes toddlers don't have the best balance. So
I swear, I love kids though.
yeah, no, I mean, low key it's like fuck them kids, but Candace loves kids. No, they're cool. It's just watching them. And I feel like that's anywhere, you know? And for adults, if you break it, don't be an asshole and just try to hide it in the back.
Right. Like be honest.
Like, get it, and you have a broken crystal now, but that's your fault. Like, you broke it.
Right.
So it's not that hard to just own up to it. Because you know what? Karma's a bitch, and she gonna come back and get you.
Always.
So don't worry about that. But just own up to it. Like, it's not gonna... It's less respect for you when you steal something or you break something.
Right.
And also, this moves into our second one. It's not on our paper, Candace, we obviously have papers because you know us. But
Squirrel.
Stealing from a witch's shop or a metaphysical shop.
I would never.
You're an idiot if you do that.
Like, never.
Like, what is wrong with you, bro?
Like, stealing from anywhere.
Yeah, stealing from anywhere in general you shouldn't do.
But that is one thing that I would never, ever, ever, ever do.
They will figure it out.
Yeah.
And they will do
crazy things.
Something. And it will be just worthy because you stole from them. So, like, I just don't do that. I mean, don't steal in general, but definitely don't steal from a metaphysical or witch shop. Or, you know, try to scam them or do mean things.
And, you know, like, kind of brings to our next little point. Don't touch people's crystals.
Yes.
Like, say you walk into my office, I'll give this prime example. There for a while, I had some crystals on my desk. People would just come up and grab it and be like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. Okay. I now have to cleanse it. Wait for that full moon to come back so I can charge that bitch. But they don't realize it.
Yeah, they pick it up. And then what happens if they drop it?
Right. And I don't want all that bad energy. I don't want their energy into it.
Like, listen, you have energy. You transfer energy to everything you are touching. So, if I've went out, got this crystal, I done cleansed it because we'll talk about this later, but you got to cleanse your stuff wherever you get it from. Then I've done charged it. And I've, been out in my pajamas trying to get it from
in the
backyard, trying to get it from the moon.
Getting up at 5
a.m. before the sun comes up. And I've put a place for it to be. And now you're going to come in here and ruin all that with your dirty energy? And yes, I said dirty because sometimes I see people's energy and it is just like mud or like dirt and I'm like,
and most of it is like the stressors of life in general. But
they didn't clean it. Yeah. They didn't clean it off. Even like me and Candace were super good friends, and everything like that. We're hanging out. Obviously, we hang out a lot. We just went to a holistic fair. We'll probably talk about that we'll talk about that in another situation. But maybe later. I don't know. And there's no telling. It'll come up again. But I would never be like, go in her room or in her house and just start touching all her crystals.
I would throw a crystal at your head.
I would accept that crystal thrown at my head because I shouldn't be doing that shit. Like, just because y'all are super good friends, unless you are like that, Unless y'all
Right.
have an understanding and y'all talked about it.
Exactly. Unless I'm like, okay, this can be a joint friendship crystal, which I
Yeah.
would never do.
Or I gotta house sit for her and I have to touch her crystals in her plants to like move them
Right.
out or something like that, or like things like that, or hey, I need you to dust this while I'm gone for 3 months. I don't know why she would be gone for 3 months.
God, I wish I was gone for
Right, vacation. But like, unless you have something like that going on and you have talked it out, don't just be out here touching people's crystals. Tarot cards, unless somebody reads tarot and they allow you to touch the
And
cards,
there's some
ask.
that do. Like, some
Yes.
will say pick, however
Yes.
many cards. Which, I don't like that just because I feel like that energy transfer,
Yeah.
it goes to everything.
Well, and some people, that's how they read with the energy. Some
Right.
people are like, okay, I need your energy all over it, and they need to be the ones to
Right.
pick it. Like, that's completely fine. But before you go out there, touching people's tarot decks, oracle decks, all the decks, just like, oh, can I touch this?
Right.
If you want a photo, hey, can I take a picture of this? Like, be courteous
Respectful.
and respectful of other people's stuff. Just like we tell our kids, don't touch something that's not yours. You should also not do that. Because my tarot deck, baby, don't touch it.
Right.
Don't touch my cards unless I let you touch my cards. Because it's not gonna be right.
She'll freak out.
I will freak out, my cards will freak out, and it's all kinds of weird situations.
Yeah.
And you might freak out because you might not be feeling the best because I don't like that shit. So, be courteous of other people. Don't be touching random shit.
So, how do you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we just recently went into a different metaphysical store.
Mm-hmm.
They had a public altar where
Yes.
anybody could pitch in, and it says do not take from
Or touch other people's offerings. Right. Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
So, public altars. I love the idea.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I don't trust people.
Right. And that's my problem too. I'm like, I don't know what kind of energy I don't want to contribute to something that I don't know what's going on.
Yes.
You know.
and like sometimes you can put that intent in there and you can be like, I want to put this intent for this to add only good to this, whatever this is. But I also don't trust other people to not touch the offering that I give.
Right.
So I feel, and that might be cynical of me to do that because I'm sure there's amazing people out there that add greatness to all public altars and things like that. But I just don't feel good when
it doesn't like set right.
Yes. And like if it sets right with you and you're called to have a public altar or you're called to add something into it,
do it.
Then do it. Like that is on you. But I feel like your intuition needs to be you need to be aware of your intuition. Like, do you get a good feeling or do you get a bad feeling or not even a bad feeling? Just like I'd rather not.
Right.
Like I'd rather not add my energy. And like I loved looking at them.
Yeah, it's always neat like to see what people have placed in it. It just I always have that gut feeling of nope. Not today.
Yeah. And that's 100% okay. Like, so your metaphysical shop, crystal shop, doesn't have a public altar in it. And which there's a lot of them that do. Like, I've been to Tulsa and places where they have them. Joplin. Yeah, they'll have them like in a corner. But I also think it's difficult when there's people who come in that don't know anything about an altar.
Right.
And then they just want to touch things.
Right, because they don't understand it. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere, but you have those people.
It's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
We get stressed out a lot if y'all haven't noticed. We're just little warriors. But also in people's home, their personal altars.
Oh my goodness.
Don't go in someone's house and if it looks like an altar, you shouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
If it has incense, if it has like little bowls and offerings, it has a photo of someone and like little things around it, yeah, you probably shouldn't
I
touch it.
can't remember the last time I walked into someone's house and said, "Oh my gosh, look at all these things I want to touch." Like, I've always been taught, like,
Yes.
that's cool if I get to go to somebody's house, but I'm gonna sit there. Like, I'm not gonna go touch it.
Yeah, or not go digging through
Right.
stuff. Which, like, I have an altar, but like my altar's like closed up
Mm-hmm.
because when it's away from your children's eyes, they don't they don't go snooping.
Right.
But I also have thought about doing an altar like to like my grandparents in the living room or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it just makes me nervous that people
Are gonna touch it.
are gonna touch the things.
And some people are still in that mindset of, I can't display what they want to because somebody might come in and go, "Oh my God, like,
Yeah.
what are you doing in here? This
What
is
is it?
witchcraft."
Yes,
This is,
But also, I think you, like, I don't know, I've never been Catholic or to a church that has an altar, but I assume, like, usually you don't just go up touching the altar.
right. Like,
I mean, there's an altar call.
right.
Like, they call you to the altar and then you, like, get prayed over and things like that. But I've never seen where, like,
You just
other than the-
randomly go up there.
yeah, just out here just touching the whole altar. And
Right.
I usually, see a priest. I went to Catholic church, like, one time. But it was a lot of, like, ritualistic things, which I
Right.
thought was very interesting. But, like, you never saw people just like going up and touching things. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, because you also had specifically like altar boys and like, specific people to do specific things
Right.
that you didn't do. So I kind of feel like it's kind of also like the pulpit. I don't know if your church has had a pulpit,
Mm-hmm.
but like not everybody gets to go up in the pulpit. Like,
Right.
you have specific
There's
places and people
right.
go.
There's
those
like
places.
a certain person that does that.
Yeah. Well, and I've always thought, like, don't cross this line. Like, even when I was in, like, Sunday school and, we would all, like, it was in front of the pulpit. Like, we would give our little, like, we learned about this today and blah, 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 blah. And it was in front of the pulpit. Like, we never went up with the mic. Like, they brought a mic down to us. And, like, so it's always, I feel like that should transition into regular people's life of, like, if something looks special, don't touch it.
Well, and that okay, I know it's not even the same, so please give me a break on those people.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness, I'm gonna make fun of her in a minute.
Yeah, you are. Alright, so you go to Walmart. You're not just gonna go jump behind the register because you don't know what the hell you're doing. Like, you don't just do that. Like, there's certain things.
Like, you don't go to places and just start doing other people's jobs.
Right.
Like, I don't expect you to be an engineer
Right.
and you come in here and, fix this and that. Like, I'm not letting Candace work on my car.
Oh, please
like,
don't.
like, that's just not happening.
Please don't. That's a horrible idea.
So, like, I feel like that's also a thing is, don't just try to jump in when you want to.
Right.
Ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions. This is our next one. So that was kind of like in the shop, kind of a little bit in personal life. But I wanted to make this one. Social media. People are assholes on social media. But what I think is if you know something about it, don't be an asshole and just be like, go Google it.
Right.
Do you know how much shit is wrong on Google?
Right. And everyone's always like, well, they have to learn. They're trying to.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't think anyone should not help somebody. Or they maybe help and say, okay, I want you to look up these people.
Yes.
And see what you can find, and then we can get back together or whatever.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. Like, hey, so this book is like how we were, how last week when we were doing shadow work.
Oh my God, don't remind me.
So we said stuff about books,
Right.
So like, hey, this book is a better one than this book, or
Right.
hey, if you come across this website, it's not, that verified, or
Right.
it might have some wrong misinformation on it. Like, you don't have to sit there and explain to them every little thing, but
Right.
give them a place to start.
They should. I still believe people should learn for themselves
Yes.
and get that knowledge, but you, like you said, you have to start somewhere. And if you're just like willy-nilly, you can't learn.
And that's how people get misinformation on the internet, especially like. So I'm going to use this as a example. So there are some people on the internet that will, like TikTok, they'll see that a specific side of TikTok is going really big.
Mhm.
So let's say it's the witch side of TikTok. And then they'll just put random shit up there.
Right.
Whether it's a closed religion or practice.
And they have no idea.
They have no idea what's happening. And then their videos will explode because they're,
They are
on that side. Right. But then shit does not go right for their life because they have decided to, offend spirit.
Right.
And they didn't know what they were doing, but they were wanting those views. So don't ever just let people go to the wayside, because then that's when they find people who are scammers,
Mhm.
or people who are just trying to get views and leaving misinformation. So I always feel like we should help other people,
Definitely.
And you don't have to tell them your whole craft. Just like give them some books that you started with.
Right. Yeah, because there has to be that
Self-discovery.
Yes, like
discoverance.
You have to kind of have your own path, but don't be a jerk. Help people.
Yeah, and if you can get a mentorship, do that. Do that, because it's a lot of information.
It is.
There's so much information on the internet, in books.
And there's a lot of people that offer the mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you find somebody that's credible and
yes,
see how long they've been practicing, or how long have they been in that. Because if you find somebody that's only been, say, reading auras for 12 months, that's not really a long time compared to somebody that can do all the things and they've been doing it like their whole life.
Yeah, and there's and that's kind of like people ask me all the time, do I give classes on tarot reading? And I'm like, I'm not a master tarot reader. Like a majority of my tarot reading is from my instinct and like from my gut.
Right.
I've had ways that I have learned how to do it, and ways that I've kind of personalized my deck to help me do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have that innate ability to just be like, you need to sit down every Tuesday at 3 p.m. and we will discuss these, ways, and that's how you do it. Like, I could not teach somebody like that. I could give a free class and be like, hey guys,
what I do,
Yeah, these are the people I watched, and because I watched a lot of videos. These are the people I watched, and because I was eclectic, and I took a little bit from everybody, and then I made my own.
And that's the important part. That's that self-path of learning as you go and putting it all together.
Because some things, people, they were people were I let other people. I was not for that. From the beginning of reading tarot, I did not want others to touch my cards. But that's a personal thing. Other people were like, that's how I get the energy, and things like that. Some people, need to know your freaking whole name, your zodiac sign, and your firstborn child to get some information. All I need is your first name, or your favorite name, I should say, like a nickname or whatever, and your favorite number.
And that's
it.
Can
kind of hone in,
connect with their
energy
type.
Yeah, and so if Candace's favorite name was Nicole, and that's like what she went by, I wouldn't necessarily connect with Candace. I would connect with the name Nicole.
Right.
So I say, what's your name? And usually people will like kind of be like, if they go by another name, they'll be like, oh, my name's like Bobby Joe, but I go by Joe. So then you would think about Joe. You wouldn't think about Bobby Joe because it's a little different kind of situation.
Well, that's like the government name.
Yeah. And some people want that. They want their government name. They want your zodiac sign. They want your PayPal and your Cash App.
And I had
they want everything.
Somebody asked me for my full name, which I told them with my married last name, and they're like, "No, that's not right." And I'm like, "Actually, it is." Like, they wanted like my maiden name, then my middle name. I was like, "Holy hell!"
And she was more on the path of mediumship.
Yeah.
So she needed extra information
to go back.
Shout out to her. I cannot remember her name for the life of me. We have a brochure, but shout out to her because she was an amazing lady.
Yes, she was. I want to go back to her because she was very neat.
We will have to shout her out in the next podcast because we loved her. But she needed that to connect with, loved ones.
Right, because not necessarily...
They didn't necessarily know you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Right.
You out here giving her full government name on the podcast.
Damn.
It's okay.
How about...
My name, it's on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
If they wanted to find you, they could find you.
FBI.
We do have a Facebook page. It's called Magical Meetups. You just come on by and, add yourself. If you have any comments or questions, you just put it on there. But they might not have known you like that, because not all spirits hang around and watch you throughout the whole time. Sometimes they might pop in and be like, "What's up, bro?"
But they got better.
They have better things to do out here living life. So don't be an asshole is the main etiquette.
And this goes right into our next thing. Don't ever try to read somebody's energy, or you're not going to just walk up to say, okay, us. You're not going to just do a tarot reading for me when I'm not hey, I need to know what's going on. You're not going to just jump in and try to figure out what's going on in my life.
Yeah.
You're going to ask me, but you're not going to just do a reading to figure it out.
Well, and also if you're not, if they're not open to it, don't keep knocking on that door.
Right.
You do not need to read everyone. You don't need to give everyone a tarot reading. You only give it to people who are accepting of it or, want it honestly. And if you do anything other than tarot reading, obviously, Reiki, you don't just be out here Reiki-ing random people.
No.
People.
Because you are supposed to ask for permission. Before you do any type of energy work, it's a respect thing,
Yeah.
You just don't go up to somebody's bubble and you're like, hey, I hate those type of people.
Yeah, I don't like
that
people
type,
in my bubble.
Yeah.
Don't pop the bubble. I need a good circle around me. You in my bubble will give me anxiety, and I'm already riddled with anxiety. I don't need any more.
Right.
So just make sure you're always respectful of other people's energy. If their energy is closed off, then don't keep trying to crack it. If they want you and, to read their energy, then that's fine. Go ahead. Or they want you to give them tarot reading, go ahead. That's fine. But don't force it.
Right.
Don't guilt people.
Right. And that makes people that were interested in any type of spiritual journey, it makes them take 500 steps backwards, and they're probably not going to try.
It causes them to get an icky feeling.
Yes.
I don't want an icky feeling from you.
Just if you go buy a new car, and you have all those little piranha people that keep on and keep on, you don't want that.
Yeah, you don't want to buy that car then.
No.
Well, and so you can also tell your close friends you're okay with certain stuff. So, Joanna, shout out to Joanna. She loves this podcast, by the way, and we love her.
She is a week behind.
She is a week behind. She better, by this point, she better not be a week behind. We're gonna yell at her if she is. But she'll be like, hey, I sent you Reiki the other night or last night when she sees us. And I'm like, thank you. But we've already had that discussion of like,
please send it anytime.
Please send Reiki anytime you feel called to do so. Because we need it.
All the time.
So like, you know, or Candace, if she wants to send me Reiki, then like I'm more than willing to accept it. But we have that discussion of like, I'm willing to accept that from them. But I don't want no random person to be like sending me anything because I don't know what their juju has.
Exactly.
I don't want none of their energy.
That's the important thing. Ask.
Be an asker, not an ass. We talked about shadow work last week. Unless you are super close with someone, don't just randomly ask them about what's going on in their shadow work.
Right. Like, even with us doing the podcast last week, yes, we hit on some things that maybe we worked on.
Yeah.
But we didn't dive super deep.
You're not gonna, like, the triggering.
Have that trigger. Like,
yeah.
That's not something that anyone should have to. It's hard enough to work through it yourself, let alone try to tell somebody else.
Yeah.
Why you feel like you're messed up.
Yeah. So, like, don't go in and be like, okay, what'd you write for this prompt? Like, I'm not telling you that. Like, you better get on my damn face. So, you can always be like, hey, you know, do you have a suggestion for a book? Hey, do you have a suggestion for some prompts? Like, you don't necessarily want to know what they wrote for the prompts, but, like, I have a picture of some prompts. There were some good, you know, stuff that I sent to my friends. And that's because I knew they were also doing shadow work.
Right.
So I never was like...
And I'm never going to force it.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't ask me, like, hey, have you ever done shadow work? I'm not going to just walk up to somebody I'm not that close with.
Yeah.
Like, the first time I told my husband that I was going to do shadow work, he's like, what is that, number one? Because it sounds dark. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. And it is dark in a way because you're trying to work
on your darker self.
You know, yeah. But it wasn't the way it sounded.
Yeah. So, like, just be respectful of people. And I'm sure we'll do a part 2 of etiquette once people hear this one and they're like, you forgot this and that. And
because I'm sure there's like tons of stuff. But that goes with just the etiquette of life too.
Yes. Like, don't be a shithead. That's the etiquette of life.
And you know, it's okay to ask questions.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're doing it in a respectful manner. There might be something that I don't understand. Well, why do you pull cards the way you do? Like, I'm going to ask you, but be like, why the hell are you doing that? You know?
Yeah, and you're not going to be like, well, that's stupid.
Right.
Like, no, because that's my own personal...
That is your way of doing it.
Like, so you just have to be a respectable person and not be so judgmental. And not everyone is who they say they are. So when you're on social media, like, make sure you're getting the actual person you're looking for, not like the scam artist. And most people that are doing it do not say, hello, love, I have felt drawn to you to do a reading, and then they charge you. That's not how most creators do, because that's a scam, and they usually don't talk like that. So don't get scammed either. So, and don't be a scammer. If there's scammers listen to this, you're shitheads. And I don't like you at all because y'all tried to scam me, but you can't get me.
I just feel like it's such a big waste of their energy to do that, and I don't get it, but I've never been that way.
Yeah.
Of trying to take advantage of people, and because if you put all that time and energy into something positive, you could do so much. Like,
you could probably have so much money if you worked on your own energy, like with your own energy instead of trying to scam other people. You could probably do so much other stuff that you would literally be so much better off if you were doing your own work.
Right.
Like, it's wild out here. So, highlights: don't be an asshole. Don't touch other people. And if you break it, you buy it.
I feel like we're forgetting something important.
We talked about your third eye, right?
No, we didn't.
Mm.
Okay, food for thought, people. Well, it kind of goes to the whole don't touch.
Yes.
You don't touch.
There's
people.
a bubble.
So somebody actually came up to me in the shop and tapped my third eye and said, "Your third eye is closed." Okay, please don't touch. How do I know she didn't close my third eye?
Well, yeah, and how did you know that she wasn't, like, that intention wasn't negative?
Right.
In general, don't touch people's bodies. But, like, don't touch their third eye or their chakras or, like even Reiki. You don't touch us when you Reiki us. Like,
and some people do.
Yeah, and if you're going in and you know it, then that's fine. Do you keep seeing something over there?
I do, but I was hoping you weren't going to call me out. But,
well,
okay.
We might have a spirit in here. Do you also feel people watching you?
Always.
What if it's our spirit guides trying to get in contact with us?
Okay, so we did a class, random tidbit, yesterday, and it was so cool about guardian angels, spirit guides, and I definitely want to learn more, and we will have a podcast on it.
Yes, because it was very educational.
It was.
And I want to learn more, and I want more information.
Absolutely.
And I have been bugging my spirit guide to tell me, like, to help me find the information. I've been thinking about them all night. So, but yeah, don't touch other people's chakras. Even, if you go into it, just like in a massage. Mm-hmm. You know when you go into a massage, somebody's going to touch you.
Right. Like, you are willingly, like, oh, I totally want a massage. Like,
yeah. So, if you go into Reiki, maybe ask them, how they do it. And if you're not comfortable with touch, find somebody that doesn't touch, with Reiki. Or ask them, hey, instead of touching me, can you not touch me? And, like, just hover. Because that's what you do. You hover. But you also don't like touching people. So
I have this thing. I was going to say horrible thing, but I don't think it's that horrible. I just don't, like, I feel like when I do touch somebody, I now have all their energy. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like I want to be a transmitter and, like, let the energy flow through me, but I don't necessarily want that.
You don't want to collect.
Yeah, I don't want to collect anything.
Yeah, that's 100%. I don't know. Maybe that's why I don't let people touch my tarot. I just don't want the collect. And even when I, before I read for the next person, I will knock out all of their energy because I thought about them and their name and their number. So I thought about them. So their energy's into it because I've, been reading for them. So I knock it out and, like, treat it as if dust is just falling out of my deck as I'm knocking it out. So, yeah, that's kind of just like, don't really ask people before you touch them. Let them know what you're doing before you do it.
Please do that.
If you're reading and you want to touch their third eye, you should let them know that you're going to do that.
And I don't know why you would ever want to do that. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I mean, unless I'm getting a head massage, you shouldn't be touching my third eye at all.
Right.
And then I'm going to have it closed with my other two eyes. So, that is it, guys. Stick around for the next episode, which will be episode number 10.
Yes, it will be released in a week.
And I'm wanting us to really get into this spirit guide guardian angel stuff, but I think it might take us a little bit longer to like research that.
Because I really, like, I started trying to find some books, but I don't want to willy-nilly it. Like,
Yes.
be drawn to something or get a suggestion from somebody close that I trust and
Yes.
go from there.
So we probably won't do that next week because that'll be a little bit too soon. I don't know what we're gonna do next week.
It's a surprise.
It's a surprise for you and us. Okay, guys. Bye.
Bye.